Good evening and welcome to Primetime News on TV1. For the Newsfirst team, I'm Mazra Hassan. Let's start off the bulletin with a look at your headlines for tonight.
UK regulators approve the use of the Oxford AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine. 3 Ukrainian tourists test positive for COVID-19. President draws attention towards hardships of those in Capitol Lab. TNA loses control over Jaffna Municipal Council. Turmoil in numerous other local government agencies.
Main sponsor.
On to our lead story now. The fourth phase of the discussion with the village got underway in Kabitiko under the auspices of President Gotabaya Rajapaksa today.
The fourth phase of the program got underway in the Kanugahawava village in the Kabitiko Divisional Secretariat. Paddy cultivation is the main mode of income for most of the villagers in the area. Many villagers having to leave their ancestral homes due to the war is a major problem these villagers face. The human-elephant conflict is another problem these villagers face.
In line with my policies and the policies of the government, we have made farmers and agriculture our priority. Our ambition is to provide free fertilizer for the farmers and give them a fixed price for their produce. We will also take steps to stop the importation of foreign crops, and we will encourage our farmers to cultivate more. Clean drinking water, a school, hospitals and its doctors. These are the common issues I see when I visit these villages. The reason why I visit these rural villages is to draw the attention of the authorities to these matters.
The President had informed the authorities to take steps to empower the economic situation of the villagers as well. Attention was focused on dairy farming and the preparation of grasslands as well. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa instructed the authorities to fulfill vacancies for teachers in the Kanugahawava Primary School and other surrounding areas. In line with the discussion with the village program, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa opened a classroom with computer facilities.
Main sponsor.
Legends 966 this season. A collection of the most memorable songs, Christmas hits and family favorites 24/7. Tune in now.
Do your online shopping now with Bulletin.lk to get it home delivered or pick up on your way.
Bulletin.lk.
Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine has been approved for use in the UK, with the first doses due to be given on Monday amid rising COVID-19 cases.
The UK is the first country to approve the Oxford University AstraZeneca vaccine. The vaccine is cheaper and easier to distribute than some alternatives and could in time offer a route out of the pandemic for large parts of the world. The UK government said it would follow a new immunization strategy for the vaccine, which will prioritize giving the first in a series of 2 vaccine doses to as many people as possible before administering a second dose up to 12 weeks later. The UK has ordered 100 million doses, enough to vaccinate 50 million people. Prime Minister Boris Johnson called the vaccine development a triumph for British science, adding, "We will now move to vaccinate as many people as quickly as possible." More than 600,000 people in the United Kingdom have been vaccinated with the Pfizer-BioNTech jab. Vaccination centres will now start inviting patients to come and get the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine from next week. It is considered essential because it is easier to store and distribute, as it can be kept at normal fridge temperature, unlike the Pfizer-BioNTech jab that has to be kept at -70 degrees Celsius. Meanwhile, the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine is cheaper when compared to the Sinovac vaccine from China, Moderna vaccine from the United States and Sputnik 5 from Russia. Against such a backdrop, how is Sri Lanka preparing to bring down a vaccine to tackle COVID-19?
කොයි රටේ නිෂ්පාදිත එකද සම්බන්ධයෙන්ද වැඩි අවධානයක් යොමු වෙලා තියෙන්නේ?
Pfizer biotech එක ඒක දැන් එංගලන්තේ පාවිච්චි.
The Pfizer BioNTech, it is already being used in England. It has to be kept at minus 70 degrees Celsius. Moderna will not be available as the US will only issue it once their requirement is fulfilled. We cannot give a definite day, but we are ready to start the process from March.
මාසේ ඉඳලා වත් මේ වැඩ කටයුතු කරන්නේ.
A separate process is underway with the leadership of former Secretary to the President Lalit Veeratunga. The World Health Organization is advising us on this. Another committee headed by the Additional Secretary to the Health Ministry is making arrangements to bring down a vaccine. As a result of all these measures, we will be able to get a finalized answer. One should be kept at minus 70 degrees Celsius. From the time of manufacturing, the vaccine has to be maintained at a certain temperature until the end user receives it. We have to first see if the maintenance process to facilitate the vaccine is available here once it is purchased. A program is implemented to pick a suitable vaccine for us by the 2nd and 3rd months of the year. This is done with the recommendations of the expert committee.
Bangladesh has entered into an agreement with Serum Institute in India to purchase 30 million doses of the AstraZeneca vaccine at a time Sri Lanka has not made a definite decision on the COVID-19 vaccine. In addition, another 68 million doses of the vaccine will be obtained from the International Vaccine Institute. The Maldives has already announced that 20% of its population will be vaccinated starting from January. India is also expected to launch a COVID-19 vaccination program in January 2021 and is reported that Pakistan will most likely obtain the vaccine manufactured in India. So far, Belgium, Latvia, Indonesia, the United States, Russia, Britain, the United Arab Emirates, Canada, Saudi Arabia, Israel, Mexico, Serbia and Switzerland have launched COVID-19 vaccination programs, and Iran and Netherlands are making arrangements to obtain the vaccine.
More than 200 types of vaccines are being tested across the world right now. A number of those vaccines have progressed beyond clinical trials and are being rolled out to other countries. Those vaccines have been granted approval by international standards bodies. The true guise of those who were advocating the Dhammika tonic, also known as the Ganja tonic, is being revealed now. This is a disgrace towards indigenous medicine. Indonesia, a much larger country, several times the size of ours, has managed to order the AstraZeneca vaccine for $1.64. According to our scientists, we can obtain this vaccine for $2, taking into account the cost of storage. In that case, it would only cost $40 million to provide this vaccine for our citizens. That is roughly 8 billion rupees. That is much lower than the money they swindled through the Wilma sugar deal. The first bond scam resulted in the country losing 963 million rupees. However, scams which occurred through sugar and coconut oil is 10 times that of the bond scam. All the while, they have sought assistance through a loan from the central bank to procure the vaccine. At the same time, we have received reports that they are attempting to procure the vaccine from either China or Russia. The quality of those vaccines may or may not have been assured by international entities. However, we need a vaccine that has a definitive standard of quality. Assurances of either the WHO and COVAX are required for us to be certain that the medicine is of satisfactory quality. If not, the other vaccines may be as ineffective as the Dhammika tonic. We cannot expect morality from a government which has earned illicit funds from even a face mask. Do not take advantage of the people's woes and their fears.
While the conversation about the COVID vaccine has continued, it was reported this morning that 3 Ukrainians who visited Sri Lanka had contracted the coronavirus. The Deputy Director General of Health Services, Dr. Hemant Herath, stated that it was confirmed last night that the 3 tourists were infected. He said steps would be taken to direct those identified as infected persons for treatment. 384 tourists have arrived in Sri Lanka from Ukraine over the last 2 days. They are currently being held at leading hotels in several locations, including Bentota. The tourists who arrived in 2 groups were welcomed with a reception attended by ministers, MPs and officials at the Mattala International Airport. This is how some members of the tour group did not wear their face masks properly.
This is a situation we were expecting. We should expect a very small percentage of patients among any group coming from abroad. It is for this reason that the Director General of Health Services has given clear instructions on what to do when bringing such tourists as a pilot project. It is clear as per the guidelines. The guidelines issued by the Director General of Health Services clearly state the course of action to be taken when a person is positive. We identify all those who have been in close contact up to the patients from the starting point and act on them according to our health guidelines.
ඒ අයට අපේ සෞඛ්‍ය මාර්ගෝපදේශ වලට අනුව ඒ අයට කටයුතු කරනවා.
ඉතින් ડોක්ටර් දැන් අර උත්සවයක් තියලා නැටුම් කණ්ඩායම් කියලා ඒක උත්සවයක් ආකාරයෙන් කරාම ලංකාවේ ජනතාවට ඒක තර්ජනයක් නෙවෙයි.
උත්සවයක් තියෙන ස්ටේජ්.
Even though an item is held on a separate stage, it is organized while minimizing face-to-face contact with them.
ඒ වගේම මේ තමයි ඒ කටයුත්ත සංවිධානය කරලා තිබුණේ. නොසලකිල්ල කියන වචනය අපි මම හිතනවා භාවිතා කරන්න මම සූදානම් ඒ කියන්නේ කැමති නැහැ.
I also do not like to use the word careless. The reason for this is that this is a pilot project. When such a team comes in, necessary steps are taken to rectify such issues. The mistake that was made when leaving the aircraft was corrected. We will continue to monitor these shortcomings and address them. That is why we are implementing this as a pilot project.
ඉදිරියේදීත් ඒක ඒ ආකාරයෙන් අපිට ඒ අඩුපාඩු ටික දැකගෙන ඒක නිවැරදි කිරීමට තමයි මේ නියම ව්‍යාපෘතියක් හැටියට මේක අපි ක්‍රියාත්මක කරන්නේ.
The 3 COVID patients have been identified because they were brought down under proper health practices. As far as we know, the 3 will be admitted to the hospital immediately, most likely the Kothalawala medical faculty.
කොතලාවල වෛද්‍ය පීඨයට අදාළව තියෙන ඒ රෝහලට
ඒ අය පැමිණීමේදී ඒ දර්ශනවල අපිට දකින්න ලැබුණේ මුඛාවරණ තිබුණේ බෙල්ලේ. ඒකට මේවන් තත්වයක් යටතේ අවධානමක් තියෙනවා නේද?
පළමු පෙළ ස්පර්ශකීන් ලෙස ගත හැකි.
All first contacts must be quarantined. There is no such thing as stopping everything as long as there is a coronavirus. There is a program within that process.
මේ ඒ ක්‍රියාවලියේදී වැඩපිළිවෙලක් තියෙනවා.
අද වෙද්දි යුක්‍රේනයේ
Today, the number of infected people in Ukraine is over 1 million. Deaths exceed 17,500. The number of COVID-related deaths in Ukraine over the last 3 days is said to be over 500. In the last 3 days, the number of patients in Ukraine has exceeded 26,000. In this backdrop, tourists from Ukraine are brought in and allowed to roam without any quarantine. It was also learned that while expatriate workers who earned Sri Lanka more than 8 billion rupees in foreign exchange are stuck, the group of best friends are charging between 7,000 and 14,000 rupees per night. They are pushing people to the bottom of the list if they are unwilling to pay. They have to buy this ticket from...
එම ගුවන් ටිකට් පත ගන්න ඕනේ කියන්නේ කවුද? මේ රටට විදේශ විනිමය ගේන ඒ රටවිරුවන්ගෙන් එහෙම කරද්දි වෙනම සංචාරකයන් සදා වෙනම වැඩපිළිවෙල සකස් කරලා තියෙනවා.
He's a former ambassador to Ukraine. He planned this. They planned the hotels and the number of hotels and have done this with a few tour companies. The plan is to send them back to Ukraine within 10 days or 2 weeks after showing them the number of tourist establishments they have planned. Can you develop the tourism industry by supporting hotels or resorts run by friends and only treating them? This is an effort to support their best friends.
සංචාරක ව්‍යාපාරේ පණ ගන්නවන්න ප්‍රවර්ධනය කරන්න පුළුවන්ද? එහෙම බෑ. ගජ මිතුරන්ට බිස්නස් දෙන තත්ත්වයක් තමයි අපිට පේන්න තියෙන්නේ.
අද යුක්‍රේනයේ කියනකොට
When we talk about Ukraine today, we are reminded of the red warrant holder who could not enter the country before this government came into power. They were brought to Sri Lanka in a procession. Has the government shown the slightest bit of concern for the people trapped in the Middle East due to the pandemic? There are plenty of hotels in this country that can act as quarantine facilities for a low fee. But in spite of that, they have to pay hotel fees worth hundreds of thousands to help the best friends of the top brass fulfill their whims and fancies.
ඔවුන්ගේ මනදොල පිනවන්න අද ලක්ෂ ගණන් නිරෝධායන වීම සඳහා හෝටල් ගාස්තු වශයෙන් මේ අසරණ විදේශ ශ්‍රමිකයන්ට ගෙවන්නට සිද්ධ වෙලා තියෙනවා.
This is not the first instance where a COVID-19 patient arrived in Sri Lanka from Ukraine. State Minister Sudarshani Fernando-Pulle said in Parliament that the Brandix cluster in the second wave of the virus was infected through a Ukraine national. She further said the University of Sri Jayawardenepura confirmed that the virus strain of the second wave is the strain currently affecting Europe. With the detection of a COVID-19 infected Ukrainian national among the flight crew in a flight that landed in Matala, close to 150 close contacts were quarantined. Against the backdrop where several high-risk situations are afoot, again, 3 Ukrainians who arrived in the country are reportedly infected.
While the arrival of Ukrainian tourists continue to give rise to debates, a Sri Lankan expatriate has returned to the island along with his foreign employer who is differently abled.
Airport එකේදී අපිට ළඟ අපිට කැමති හෝටල් එකකට යන්න දෙන්නේ නැහැ.
There were boards displayed at the airport saying that we will only be quarantined at a hotel of their choice and not one convenient for us. I request them to allocate me a hotel close to my home since there is a differently abled person with me. I explained to them that I have to treat him, but they refused to do so and ordered for me to quarantine at a hotel in Bentur for 14 days. The total cost for the two of us was 210,000 rupees. For the ticket, it cost around 400,000 rupees. They charge 19,000 for PCRs at the airport. Another PCR should be conducted while in quarantine. They charge for that too. I do not know if the president is aware of this. How are we to bear such a cost? We have to undergo quarantine at a hotel they provide us. People working in the Middle East who earn 40 to 50,000 rupees cannot pay for all this. We do not have a voice. Why are they stripping us of the money we could have otherwise spent on our parents? This is a scam.
කට්ටියක් දැම්මලා අපේ මංකොල්ල කනවා වගේ ගසාගෙන කන්නේ.
A number of foreign expatriates voiced their concerns regarding the hardships they have had to endure.
My working period is over. I have requested to be repatriated. I want to go back. I am ill. I do not even have an attire to shield myself from the cold. I do not have wealth to pay an exorbitant sum for an air ticket. This is equivalent to 4 months of my salary. There are many like me suffering in this manner. I came here to work on the 18th of March 2018. My work period is over. We came here legally. Please treat us fairly. We need support to care for our children and families.
More than 50,000 expatriates have been brought back to the island. We intend to repatriate around 30,000 to 35,000. Another segment has shown interest to arrive in the country since we opened our borders. We have taken steps to accommodate that as well.
Meanwhile, the ward for physical ailments at the Ratnapura Teaching Hospital was temporarily closed today following the identification of 15 confirmed COVID-19 cases. A doctor, 2 nurses, 2 health staff members and 9 patients were among the infected. Meanwhile, the Kosgama police area was released from isolation today.
Meanwhile, Minister of Education Professor G.L. Piri says the reopening of schools in the Western Province will be further delayed.
The decision has been taken on schools which are situated in the areas that are currently not under isolation. Those schools will be reopened on the 11th of January. We have drawn up an elaborate plan to execute it. Our only aim is to reopen schools island-wide, even in the Western Province. It is difficult to reopen schools in the Western Province immediately. However, we are apprised of the current situation regarding COVID-19. Schools in those areas will be reopened as soon as possible. Schools in other areas will definitely reopen on the 11th of January.
We will be back after this short commercial break. Stay tuned.
Do your online shopping now with Sambole.lk to get it home delivered or pick up on your way.
Sambole.lk.
Welcome back to the news. Newsfirst is always committed towards highlighting the suffering of those in rural Sri Lanka, especially in light of the age-old human-elephant conflict. Although the severity of the human-elephant conflict was reiterated time and time again, no viable solutions have been presented to date. All the while, the invaluable lives of both humans and elephants continue to be lost. The latest incident of this conflict was reported from Hambantota, where an individual lost his life.
The deceased was a 25-year-old father of 1, a resident of Walsapugala in Hambantota. According to our correspondent, the victim had been travelling on a motorbike with his wife and child at around 10 p.m. last night. At the same moment, residents of the village had been chasing away a wild elephant that encroached onto the village. The wild elephant attacked the 25-year-old man, who died while being transported to the Hambantota hospital. Residents of Walsapugala point out that the elephant encroachments on the villages are increasing owing to the mass deforestation taking place.
ටෝච් එක ගහනකොට තමයි එළවගෙන හරියට ගියේ. වෙඩි ගහනකොට පිට වෙලා අතන කඩාගෙන. පිට වුණාට පස්සේ මේගොල්ලෝ පොඩක් ගියාද කියලා බලන්නනේ ගිහින් තියෙන ළඟට. ඒ ගියාම තමයි ඔය දේ.
Meanwhile, officials took into custody a group who were illegally clearing out land belonging to the Mahaweli authority. This was in close proximity to the area where the wild elephant attack occurred yesterday. According to Mahaweli officers, the group was strictly warned and released. The Gamad initiative delved deep into this issue during the fourth phase of the program and also included it in its report. The Gamad team spent another night with these people to experience firsthand their daily struggles. Despite what those in positions of power boast of, our teams witnessed with their own eyes the plight of these people who are forced to sleep on a tree and more often than not spend sleepless nights. We didn't stop there. The Gammada Pradeshya Mandapa program was organized in the area where officials and the people were brought together for a discourse on the issue. The program was held on the 27th of January 2019, close to the Andaravava in Valsapugala. A broad discussion was held on the day regarding this issue that is widespread in the area. The Gammada investigative study to find solutions to the human-elephant conflict began in September 2019. The study was centered around the Hambantota district and the situation in villages including Valsapugala. The Peradeniya University, the Department of Wildlife and the Civil Defence Force assisted in this study. Damages caused to water sources, illegal constructions and clearing of land were identified as the most common causes for the human-elephant conflict. It is not the refusal of responsible officials to comprehend the reality of the human-elephant conflict that has led to the loss of so many lives of both humans and animals.
A tense situation between state officials and local politicians arose near the Nimalava sanctuary in Hambantota due to an issue surrounding an electric fence.
ඒ රාමුවේ පිට මට මෙතන වැඩ කරන්න බැන්න මම මෙතන ඉන්න එක තේරුම් ගන්නෑ. ඔබතුමාලාගේ අධීක්ෂණයෙන් ඒ අගල කපන මුදල් යනවා බඹල කපන පුළුවන් ඒ කණ්ඩායමකට බාර දුන්නා මේ බැලිපස්තික අපේ පාරවල් හදාගන්න. රජයේ අවශ්‍යතාවය දෙපාර්තමේන්තුවේ උපදෙස් ඒ ටික තමයි ක්‍රියාත්මක කරන්න ඕනේ. එහෙම නැතුව මේක කාටවත් ඕන විදිහට මෙතන ප්‍රශ්න ඇති වෙන විදිහට වැඩ කරන්න දෙන්නේ නැහැ.
This meeting concluded after postponing the final decision regarding the construction of the electric fence near the Nimalava sanctuary. The Divisional Secretary of Tissa Maharama, Assistant Director in charge of the Uwa Wildlife Zone, Personal Secretary to Minister Chamal Rajapaksa and an SLPP Pradeshya Sabha member who opposed the construction of the electric fence attended the meeting. The residents of the area expressed their opposition to the SLPP Pradeshya Sabha member and to Minister Chamal Rajapaksa's Personal Secretary as soon as they stepped out of the meeting. The Kirinda police had to intervene in order to remove them from the area. Yesterday, the Director General of Wildlife Conservation informed the authorities to temporarily suspend the construction of the electric fence proposed to prevent elephants from the Nimalava sanctuary, which borders the Yala National Park, from entering villages. The decision was made due to this conflict. On the 24th of December, the Department of Wildlife Conservation had brought the required equipment and material for the electric fence to the premises of the office. That night, the equipment had been set on fire. Residents point out a member of the Tissa Maharama Pradeshya Sabhava representing the SLPP continued to oppose the move to erect an electric fence in the area.
Conflicts have arisen at numerous local government bodies established to look into the issues faced by the people living in rural Sri Lanka.
The 2021 budget of the Teldeniya Madadumbara Pradeshya Sabha was defeated today. 13 members voted in favour while 17 voted against. 12 members of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna voted against the budget while 4 members of the Samagi Jana Balawegaya voted in favour. A tense situation arose following a statement made by the chairman today. The Tamil National Alliance lost its power at the Jaffna Municipal Council today after Vishwalingam Manivannan was appointed as the new mayor. Vishwalingam Manivannan was appointed to the Municipal Council through the All Ceylon Tamil Congress headed by Gajendra Kumar Ponnambalam. It was reported that he was later removed from the Congress.
Rogues have secured power with the promise of protecting this place and preventing the nation from being sold to third parties. The King's Assembly Hall of King Buenekabahu in the northwestern province was bulldozed. Those who promised that they will not sell even a single inch of land to foreign countries are now doing the exact opposite of what they promised. All plans to facilitate this have been finalized, handing over the port to India, the situation surrounding the Kankasanture port. They have laid the foundation to hand these over to foreign nations. They should fulfill the promises they made in the run-up to the elections.
The case filed at the Colombo District Court by George Stewart Health Private Limited against MTV Channel Private Limited was taken up today before Additional District Judge Honorable Lakmali De Silva.
Appearing on behalf of MTV Channel Private Limited, President's Counsel Udita Egalaheva objected to the extension of the enjoining order and reiterated the objections that were recorded before court. Counsel for the plaintiff, George Stewart Health Private Limited, submitted to the court that since the matter is already fixed for the 8th of January 2021 for interim injunction inquiry, that the enjoining order should be extended. After hearing the submissions of both counsel, the additional district judge extended the enjoining order only up to the 8th of January 2021, subjected to the objections of the defendant's counsel. On the previous occasion when this matter was taken up, MTV Channel Private Limited, through its registered attorney, Gigi Arulpragasam, filed objections seeking to dismiss the plaintiff's action as well as the application for interim injunction with 500% costs. In addition, MTV Channel Private Limited filed its answer, making a counterclaim for 20 billion rupees from George Stewart Health Private Limited as damages on the basis that the said George Stewart Health Private Limited had obtained an ex parte enjoining order, suppressing material facts, misleading court with malicious intentions, and had abused and misused the judicial process. MTV Channel Private Limited also stated in its answer that George Stewart Health Private Limited had, through its frivolous, baseless and malicious action, caused serious loss, mischief, damage and harm to MTV's goodwill and reputation, adding that MTV is held in high esteem as a trusted media organization locally and internationally, and has won a plethora of accolades for its fearless reporting and investigative journalism for the benefit of the people. MTV in its answer also stated that the director of the plaintiff company, Haputantrige Irandajit Ranasinghe, who affirmed to an affidavit, had willfully, deliberately concocted claims and with the intention to mislead court, affirmed to a false affidavit relating to the 5 purported causes of action with the clear intention of evasion of the truth. Accordingly, MTV reserved its right to file contempt of court papers and also reserved the right to charge the said director of the plaintiff company under the provisions of the Penal Code. President's Counsel Udita Egalaheva, attorneys Jeevanta Jayatilaka, Niranjan Arulpragasam, Damita Karunaratna, N.K. Ashok Baran, Miyuru Egalaheva and several other counsel appeared for MTV Channel Private Limited, instructed by Attorney-at-Law Gigi Arulpragasam. Attorney-at-Law Ruanta Kure appeared for George Stewart Health Private Limited, instructed by Attorney-at-Law Sanath Vijayawardena.
Those were the residents who protested against a businessman who attempted to engage in sand mining in the area. These residents allege that continuous sand mining in the area with licenses obtained from government institutions has destroyed the environment to such an extent the people have been devoid of sufficient drinking water.
Coconut trees in Pothuvilla, Madampe are being uprooted to make way for sand mining in the area. Area residents allege that the Grama Niladhari of the area and state institutions are all in support of the deep pits that are dug by these sand miners. These residents took to the streets today. According to our correspondent, the land from which the sand is being mined is land which is ideal for coconut cultivation, with many trees on the land delivering a substantial yield over the years. Large backhoes were used to mine this sand from this plot of land since this morning. However, tensions were high when residents of the area protested and halted operations.
සම්පූර්ණ ගස් 50කට මේ කපලා අයින් කරා. අයින් කළා තමයි දැන් මේ මුඩු බිමක් කියලා තමයි මෙයාලා මේ වෙලි කපන්න තියෙන්නේ. මේ මිනිස්සුන්ට ඕන විදිහට කපාගෙන යනවානේ. එයාලා මේ බල්ලක් නෙමෙයි දීලා දවස ගානම කපන්න දෙන්නේ සාකච්ඡාවක් දෙනකම් මේක පොඩ්ඩක් නතර කරලා තියන්න. මේ අපේ ගමේ අපේ රටේ මේ මිනිස්සු කාලා ගන්න ටිකක් ඇවිල්ලා මේකේ ඔක්කොම කාලා දිනා කරනවා. මේ ඇමතිවරයාම කියනවානේ බලපත්‍ර දීප විදිය කොහොමද කියන එක. එතකොට මේ දීලා තියෙන බලපත්‍රේනේ ඔය. ඔය විද්‍යාවේ පිළිගන්නා වැරද්දක් කළා තියෙනවා පරිසර අධිකාරිය පිළිගන්නවා. දැන් මේ හැමෝම පිළිගන්නවා. පිළිගත්තට බලන්නේ නීතිය කියන්නේ. ක්‍රියාත්මකව පිළිගන්න වැරද්දක් වෙලා තියෙනවා කියලා පිළිගන්න හැබැයි නීතිය කියන්නේ. ඒකට අපි අර මේ ගමේ කැලෑ නීතිය තමයි ක්‍රියාත්මක කරන්න වෙන්නේ.
The person who identified himself as an official representing an institution affiliated to the Geological Survey and Mines Bureau attempted to justify the mining of sand from the land. However, area residents continued to voice their objection over the matter.
ඔයාගේ ආයතනයේ පෞද්ගලික රාජ්‍යද? පෞද්ගලික ආයතනයක් භූවිද්‍යා පතලයකට අනියුක්ත. ඉතින් ඒකට පෞද්ගලික ආයතනයේ රාජ්‍ය ලාංඡනය ගහන්න බෑනේ. ඒගොල්ලෝ ගහන්න පුළුවන් තමයි ගහන්නේ. කවුද ගැහුවේ? ඒක අහගන්න ඕනේ තිය ආයතනය.
The Grama Niladhari officer of the area also arrived at the location. When those who were mining sand at the location attempted to leave, the area residents protested against that as well. In the end, the police intervened and halted sand mining on the plot of land until court decides on the matter on the 19th of next month. All will be decided on the 19th of January. No one needs to panic now. Please disperse. He will not engage in sand mining until the 19th and the public cannot damage the backhoe or the machinery. Do not conduct yourself in a manner where the peace is disrupted.
හැබැයි මහ ජනතාව කිසිම කෙනෙක් ඒ බැකෝ එකට හානියක් කරන්න බෑ. වෙනස් සාමය කඩවන කිසිම ක්‍රියාවක් කරන්න බෑ කිසිම කෙනෙක්.
As at the end of September this year, the equity investments held by the Employees Provident Fund in the Colombo Stock Exchange reported a mark-to-market loss of approximately 20.65 billion rupees.
The Employees Provident Fund currently holds shares in 81 entities listed in the Colombo Stock Exchange. These shares have been purchased at a cost of 84.4 billion rupees, while the market value of these assets currently stand at 63.77 billion rupees. The market value of the EPF's equity portfolio has increased by approximately 10.18 billion rupees, a 19% increase compared to the market value by the quarter ending June 2020. The Employees Provident Fund also holds shares in 9 unlisted entities, including Sri Lankan Airlines, whose shares, which were purchased at a cost of 500 million rupees, is currently at zero book value.
The investments of the EPF must be done very cautiously because that is the savings of workers. They work for 30 years and then when they retire, this is the money they have to spend the evening of their life. So, adequate rules and regulations exist already. And that is, if you are investing in the stock market, you can only invest in what are called blue chip companies that will hold value. But starting 2011-12, they started investing in all kinds of companies. I recall very well where we, made such a lot of opposition, and now it has been, published after the audit. Perpetual, that is Aloysius's company, that pumped and dumped on EPF shares of Ceylon grain elevators. Look at the price of Ceylon grain elevators today. What is the loss? In the billions. Look at Laugh Gas, which has been audited. Billions, right? So until such time, at least one person to represent the employees are put on the board of the EPF, they must be very cautious. They must take precaution. This is not somebody's money to play around with. This is the retirement money of millions of workers.
The central bank failed to sell more than half of its treasury bills during its weekly auction today.
According to its statistics, the central bank only sold 18.77 billion rupees worth of treasury bills out of the 40 billion rupee offering. Total bids received were 53.32 billion rupees, 1.33 times of what was offered. The treasury bills, which were offered under 3 maturity periods, was unsubscribed in all 3 maturities.
A 45-year-old nurse in California tested positive for COVID-19 more than a week after receiving the Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine.
The nurse said in a Facebook post on the 18th of December that he had received the Pfizer vaccine and telling foreign media that his arm was sore for a day, but that he had suffered no other side effects. 6 days later, on Christmas Eve, he became sick after working a shift in the COVID-19 unit. Reportedly, he got the chills and later came down with muscle aches and fatigue. He went to a drive-up hospital testing site and tested positive for COVID-19 the day after Christmas. However, Christian Ramos, an infectious disease specialist, told foreign media that this scenario was not unexpected. Ramos said, and I quote, "We know from the vaccine clinical trials that it's going to take about 10 to 14 days for you to start to develop protection from the vaccine." He also added that the first dose gives you somewhere around 50% and you need that second dose to get up to 95%.
Shiv Sena, an Indian political party, launched a scathing attack against the BJP-led central government, saying that the relations between the centre and states are worsening, and cautioned that it will not take much time for Indian states to break away like the Soviet Union.
According to an editorial, Shiv Sena has been quoted as saying, quote, "If the central government does not realize that they are harming people for political gains, it will not take much time for the states in our country to break away like the Soviet Union. The year 2020 has to be looked at, creating a question mark on the capacity and credibility of the central government," unquote. According to an Indian newspaper, the Marathi Daily, BJP leader Vijay Vargiya had made a sensational disclosure saying that Prime Minister Narendra Modi had made a special effort to overthrow the Congress's Kamal Nath government in Madhya Pradesh. The Shiv Sena also accused the centre of attempting to oust Chief Minister and Trinamool Congress Supremo Mamta Banerjee from the power in West Bengal. Chief Minister Uddhav Thackeray-led party's editorial further alleged that the central government hit the ground to save actor Kangana Ranaut and journalist Arnab Goswami. Shiv Sena alleged that Chinese troops entered India's boundaries, but the country could not push them back. Instead, nationalism was used to divert attention from the crisis.
And that's the wrap of this edition of Primetime News. For the Newsfirst team, I'm Mazra Hassan with our sign language interpreter Brian D. Cruz joining us via Zoom. Thank you very much for joining. Take care and good night.